We begin our election result coverage at midday with reaction to the results of the presidential election.
And for that, we're going to be joined by former Santa Barbara County District Attorney Joyce Dudley. Joyce worked closely with Vice President Kamala Harris. Good morning, Joyce, and thank you for being here.
Good morning.
I want to lead off with, what do you think is next for America's first female vice president, your friend Kamala Harris?
Well, she's had most every job that she could have had. I don't know, I'd like to see whether she's going to run for governor or not. I haven't discussed it with her, but I think she'd be great at it.
And you know her very, very well. What do you think this loss means for her? And do you think she would run for president again?
I know her. I wouldn't describe very, very well. We were working colleagues and we've been friends and acquaintances for 20 years. And your question is whether she'll run again?
Yes.
I don't know. I think it really depends on what happens during the next few years. And I think she's still kind of sitting back and reflecting upon the campaign and reflecting upon her future. So I'm not sure she's ready to answer that.
Joyce, why do you think Kamala didn't address her supporters at her alma mater at Howard University last night? But we have learned she's going to address her alma mater and her supporters today. What do you expect her to say?
Well, I think she didn't speak to them last night because it wasn't until the early morning hours in California that the results really were solid, which would have meant 2 and 3 in the morning there. And I think she wanted to be sensitive to their schedules. She wanted to have time to reflect on what she wanted to say. And I think that she will continue to be upbeat and encouraging, and she'll put the country first and the needs of the people first. And I think that's the kind of address you'll hear.
And I do want to switch gears a little bit to talk about Donald Trump and his status as a convicted felon who is heading back to the White House for the second time. What is your opinion and the opinion of others in the legal community?
First of all, very important question and a very complex. Let's see if I can do this succinctly. First of all, this is the first time an ex-president was ever criminally charged in an offense. It is also the first time a president-elect is a criminal defendant. So the first thing he'll face is a sentencing case, the case where he was convicted of 36 felonies. Now, that case had to be rethought by the judge, by the prosecutor, etc., because of the ruling from the Supreme Court. That judge said, I think it was Judge Juan Merchan, M-E-R-C-H-A-N, that he gave himself until November 12th to decide what he was going to let in and whether there was going to be a sentencing at all. Trump and his lawyers are back in court on November 26th, and I think then at that point we'll hear about the sentencing. The reason I don't have a clear answer is this is so unprecedented, no pun intended. But let me tell you that he can do everything from dismiss all the charges, go ahead and sentence him to probation or time at home or community work service. His hands are open. And then we have 2 federal cases, and he has said all along that he plans on firing Jack Smith if in fact he's elected. Jack Smith may wait for that firing and continue to pursue that, or he may retire. We also have the civil cases and the RICO case in Georgia. So we have a lot of moving parts, but if you ask me, Joyce, what I think will happen, I think somehow really he's not going to be held accountable for any of those cases because of the fact that he's now president-elect and soon to take on that position. But let me tell you, there's lots of wiggle room and legal opinions that differ from mine.
And I do have one quick follow-up for that. Trump, he did attack the legal system after he was convicted of that felony charge in New York earlier this year, claiming he had that unfair trial. How does that impact prosecutors and DAs and their ability to do their jobs?
It's always difficult to prosecute somebody who is famous because there are going to be strong feelings on both sides. But prosecutors, the ones I've worked throughout the country, I've worked with prosecutors. I was the president of Prosecutors Against Gun Violence, so I worked with prosecutors across the country. They're a different breed. They're a breed where you say to them, I'm going to follow the law, I'm going to follow the facts, I'm going to make decisions for the right reason, And then whatever happens to me politically, that could just fall by the wayside. I can tell you, if I was the district attorney still, none of those decisions would affect whether I would charge somebody or how vigorously I would prosecute them.
That is former Santa Barbara County District Attorney Joyce Dudley. Joyce, we appreciate your insight and thank you for sharing your time today.
Thank you. My thoughts go out to Ventura, the people of Ventura in that fire today, and of course all the firefighters who end up responding. So thank you for talking about that important issue too.
Yes, thank you so much, Joyce.